So based on the results of the SWOT analysis, that's the first step of the SWOT analysis. Now once all the external and internal factors are categorized as the opportunities, threats, and strengths and weaknesses to our company, and now it's time to move on the next step in building the relevant strategies. It's a toes mix. SWOT, if we just reverse the alphabet of SWOT, as if we just reverse it, it can be just the TOWS. So that's why we call it TOWS analysis or TOWS matrix. Okay, TOWS matrix may be developed to build a suitable business strategy. So in building the relevant strategies, so we have also think about from those 4 different factors of the opportunities, threats, and strengths and weaknesses. We just combine each one of those 2 from those 4 different elements. So the first one is SO strategy. SO strategy is using strengths to leverage opportunities. So we just combine opportunities and strengths. Okay, so if there is an opportunity and if we have the strengths to leverage the opportunities, and if we just focus on capturing the opportunities with our strengths, that's the strategy of the SO. So another strategy we might draw from the SWOT analysis is that ST strategy. ST strategy is out of the threats, we avoid the threats with the strength we have identified internally. So exploiting strengths while avoiding risk is our ST strategy. So it's the same, this ST strategy is the same as the SO strategy in terms of leveraging our internal strengths. But in SO strategy, we try to capture the opportunities, but instead in the ST strategy, we try to avoid the threats. So that's the difference between SO and ST strategy. But leveraging the strengths of our internal factors of the company is the same in SO strategy and ST strategy. Okay, let's move on to the third strategy, WO strategy. WO strategy is we try to leverage our external opportunities, but instead of using our strengths, we may overcome our weaknesses. We leverage our opportunities by overcoming the weaknesses. So, so it's different from the SO strategy in that in WO strategy, we focus on overcoming our weaknesses. But in SO strategy, we focus on strengthening, we focus on using our strengths. And the final strategy in TOWS analysis is WT strategy. So we focus on our threats and our weaknesses in WT strategy. So we overcome the threats by minimizing the weaknesses. So out of those 4 factors we identified in SWOT analysis, we combine the 2 factors from internal and external environments, and by mixing those 2 elements, and we can create 4 different strategies on TOWS metrics. Okay. Now it's time to look at the one of the now it's time to look at the actual cases where actual cases where they have actually used each one of those four TOES strategies one by one. Okay, the first one was the Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola company leveraged brand assets to capture opportunities for massive growth in emerging markets. Okay, Coca-Cola's entry into the emerging market is one of the model example of the SO strategy cases. So let's have a look at what are the results of the SWOT analysis in the case of the Coca-Cola. So first, let's have a look at the external environmental factors of the Coca-Cola. Economic development in emerging economies. So Coca-Cola is a soft drink beverage company in the America, and they identified a lot of economic development in the emerging country economies outside the United States. So that's a good sign. That's a good news to the Coca-Cola, and they would capture those opportunities. Okay. And increase of the middle classes in emerging economies. So that's also good news because there are a lot of the affluent people who can buy the soft drinks from Coca-Cola. And the westernizing food taste. Okay, in the emerging economies, they found that the taste of the food has been changing from local to westernizing. So Coca-Cola is one of the popular foods of the Western countries. So in case the customers in the emerging economies, the food tastes are changing from local to westernizing, and then that's also good news to the Coca-Cola. And let's have a look at some of the threats. So rise of the raw material price. So in case a lot of raw material prices are rising, and that's not a good news to the manufacturer of the soft drinks such as the Coca-Cola. And the second element, second examples of the threats of the Coca-Cola business is that the depletion of the water resources. In making the soft drinks, they require lots of the water resources, and the depletion of water resources could be one of the factors that may threat to the business of a lot of the beverage companies. And also, if you look at the internal environments of the Coca-Cola, huge funding capabilities. Coca-Cola is a giant company in worldwide, so they can generate a lot of cash and money. So they are very strong in the financial resources. And then the powerful brand name. Okay, Coca-Cola's brand value is one of the top in the world. So everybody recognizes the brand of the Coca-Cola, and they value the name of the Coca-Cola very well. So that's one of the strengths as the core competency of the Coca-Cola. And the wide selection of the well-recognized brands. Coca-Cola not only has the brand of the Coca-Cola, but also has lots of different brands inside the company. So they may use such well-recognized brands in entering the emerging markets. They also have some weaknesses. The investment costs in logistics procurement networks are high. So it may cost a lot of money in terms of delivering their raw materials to the production site, and also in terms of the procurement networks. That means the networks for buying the raw materials, and they require they require investment of lots of money. So that will increase their cost per production. And also they have some huge, the company, the size of the company is so big, and that may trigger the ineffective communication among themselves. So a huge organization may block the effective communication. So that's the analysis of the SWOT of the Coca-Cola's business. And let's have a look at the strategies based on TOES. So if you look at the right hand side, the boxes, there are opportunities, threats, strengths, and weaknesses. Out of them, they chose the SO strategy. So that means leveraging their strong brand assets. That's one of the strengths. And to become globally #1 soft drink company. So they decide to enter the emerging markets to capture the opportunities open to them in emerging markets. So a lot of economic development, increase of the middle classes, and then westernizing food taste. Everything is can be the opportunities to the company like the Coca-Cola. So in short, Coca-Cola company is one of the strengths is that strong brand power accumulated from continuous investment so far. In 2008, $37 billion is invested in emerging markets through Vision 2020. And they identified opportunities for massive growth by utilizing brand assets. So Coca-Cola was very successful in entering the emerging markets with an ambition to achieve the Vision 2020. So they invested a lot of money in emerging markets. And in entering the emerging markets, they try to leverage their strengths. One of their strengths as strong brand powers. Okay, so they took SO strategy based on the SWOT analysis. Okay, that's the case of the Coca-Cola. Now let's have a look at another case. It's the case of the Kikkoman. Kikkoman is a soybean sauce producer from Japan. Japanese people enjoys is eating the soybean sauce, and now there are some limitations in terms of the growth in the domestic market. So Kikkoman went to the overseas markets. They globalized their businesses, and that was so successful. But instead of the Coca-Cola's strategy of taking SO strategy, Kikkoman took ST strategy. So they leveraged their strengths in to avoid actually threats from the external factors. So in case of the Coca-Cola, the emerging market opened the opportunities for the Coca-Colas. But in case of the Kikkoman, there were lots of the threats in the domestic market. So in order to avoid such threats they are facing in the domestic market, they try to develop the strategies to go overseas by strengthening, by leveraging their strengths. Okay. Let's look at the SWOT analysis of the Kikkoman soy sauce business. First, look at the opportunities. Penetration of the Japanese food culture in the overseas market. Okay, like the case of the Coca-Cola, in the overseas markets, a lot of the customers are now trying to enjoy the Japanese food culture. And that's a good news to the Kikkoman and Asia's rapid economic development. So outside Japan, so the other countries in Asia, the economic development is so rapid, so that's also a good news. And preference of health-oriented food So Kikkoman is a soybean sauce. So it's related to the health-oriented food. So preference of the health-oriented food of the customers maybe is a good sign for the business of the Kikkoman, and preference of the high-quality product also the same. Okay, let's look at the threats of the Kikkoman businesses. Reduced demand for soy sauce in domestic market. So it's mature. The market of the soybean sauce is very mature in Japan, and intensifies domestic price competition among the existing players and consumers' departure from the popular brand like the Kikkomans. And they want to, the customers now are looking at the very detailed, the segmented brands, targeting only their own small groups' interests or the needs. So the popular brands like the Kikkoman is not chosen by the customers anymore. So there is a big threat in the domestic market of the Japan. And then one of the strengths of the Kikkoman is overwhelming share in the domestic market. So they are the leader, and then the leader in the domestic market as a dominant player, and their brewing technology of producing the soybean sauce is the best, and they have the broad product lineup of related products. They also have some weaknesses and slow in decision-making processes. So in case of the Kikkoman, they chose a strategy based on the toast mix, mixing the threats and the strengths. Okay, so one of the strengths of the Kikkoman is the overwhelming share in the Japanese domestic market. So facing the risk of the decreasing profits by the phenomenon of the customers leaving popular brands into small and sophisticated brands in domestic market. So in order to mitigate the risks, in order to mitigate avoid the threats, they chose the globalization by utilizing the overseas success experience and overseas manufacturing basis. So that's the case. That's the case of developing. That's the case of the choosing the ST strategy, global expansion growth strategy, to avoid the threats in domestic markets, which the Kikkoman has chosen. Okay.